So my name is Dr. Jim Lani. I am here to talk about all things data, quantitative data, some of the challenges, how do we analyze data, how do we draft discussion chapters, and we have a small group, so I really want to invite you to be active, ask questions in the Q&A or in the chat. Tell me where you are with your particular project, and um, and I'll demonstrate some of these steps, okay, moving from data to the analysis and then some, and some of the kind of sticking points that I've observed over the decades. So without further ado, so really most students do have a challenge either with the data analysis plan or the actual conducting of the analyses. Intellectus Statistics was built to overcome really the challenges of SPSS. Excel really wasn't robust enough with assumptions and so forth. So if you're in any of these situations, okay, where you struggle with what statistical test or what are the assumptions or how do you interpret that output, okay, what does that mean, okay, and then drafting the discussion chapter, you're in a good place. And I'll show you kind of how Intellectus Statistics has been really purposefully built to address these all four of these issues. Okay, so what's on the agenda for today is kind of understand some of the basics. Crawl, walk, run. So you have to kind of have some of these basics down. Otherwise, you can't really engage with the data. You have to know the levels of measurement, and you can't engage with the analyses because they require certain levels of measurement. So we got to get the basics down. We're going to talk about cleaning. Typically, I don't talk about cleaning, but as it turns out, cleaning is 90% of the problem and 90% of the solution. So once you get that handled, you can kind of move on to the analyses very quickly. We'll talk about test selection. We'll talk about results. You know, Intellectus was built. It occurred to me after 15 years that students still struggle with, and I too, converting this raw output into APA tables and so forth and finding the assumptions. It was labor intensive, and you kind of had to be in it to know what to do with it. So, we kind of combined all of that together, and that was really an advent. And as I tell Ashley and Samantha and Melissa, who's on the call, every DNP and everyone needs to have that because it's a better solution for the tasks at hand and for the experiences that you've had. Okay, many people on this call are not PhDs, are mostly DMPs or EGDs or some PhDs, but to tie those processes together and automate that's what Intellectus is about. We've recently, Melissa will tell me how long, but we've included a discussion draft. So not only do you have your results in plain English with APA tables, but now you have that contextualized with the literature, okay? So I'll speak about that, and then I'll do a guided walkthrough with you. So let's talk about first things first. You have to know levels of measurement. There's only 3 of them: nominal, ordinal, scale. These icons are not accidental. They're represented in the tool itself. And the Venn diagram one is nominal. It's just a label: male, female, yes, no, Republican, Democrat, independent, whatever. There's no hierarchy at all. Ordinal has both labels, okay, and an order. 8-ounce Coca-Cola, 12-ounce Coca-Cola, 64-ounce Coca-Cola. So you have a label, small, regular size and super gulp or something. Someone's going to have to correct me. Do they even make super gulps anymore? Can somebody answer that for me? So as I use these examples, I'm like, am I dating myself here? They used to have super gulps. So the key here is that they're labeled and ordered, but the distance or the volume is not equal. This is very common when you talk about age groups, 20 to 30, whatever, 20 to 29, 30 to 39. But then once you go 40 plus, now you have that larger interval, okay? So that's ordinal. Unless they're completely equal, okay? Like many Likert items, okay? Typically, you can treat those as ordinal, okay? Um, okay. Scale, um, symbolized by the ruler, has both the labels, has both the order, and has equal spacing. That's the key. IVs and DVs, you should know what those are. Typically speaking, the DVs are the outcome variable. It's the things that the participant is providing. It is their runtime. It is their blood pressure. Okay. It's dependent on them. All right. Independent is typically manipulated by the researcher or controlled for by the researcher. And what I mean by that is if I want to look at runtimes by gender, the researcher says that by gender or by age group or by geography or whatever. Okay. So the key thing is the dependent variable is the outcome by the participants or the observations. That's the key thing. The IV is what you're looking at that DV by. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned on the top, what do I conduct? How do I do it? And then what does it mean? We'll get there. Loading your data. So I'll just walk through that loading up the data. There's several ways of doing that. There's a data cleaning wizard, and we'll talk about how do you upload the data if I have an Excel or SPSS file, whatever I have, and then how we can manage that data. That's all part of that data cleaning, okay? Managing the data, creating composite scores, making sure you have the correct level of measurement for that variable, and so forth. Data cleaning wizard. I think it's just easier just to walk through it. But we'll look at the levels of measurement because that's really key. All right. One of the things you must know. How do you create composite scores? Very often there's validated instruments and you have to now create a average score or a sum score. Okay. How do you deal with missing data? That's a nuanced topic. And the general rule of thumb is, well, let me get my note. If you have over 20% missing of something, I probably would not impute. If you have a 10-item scale and you miss one or two, you can get the mean of everybody else and put that in there, okay? So you get to keep that observation. However, if you're missing 8 out of 10, you got to dump that person, okay? So it's really we're talking about systemized or systematic missing versus kind of randomly missing. There's books written on it. And some of the data sets that I see, really, they have like literally thousands of people, and they're worried about getting rid of a certain percentage of folks. I wouldn't be concerned about that. So, as long as your sample size is sufficient or near sufficient, keep them in consideration. Don't drive yourself crazy. Many items are reverse coded. You have to deal with that, which is a simple process, but it's part of the data management process. And what I mean by that is that a word is flipped. Okay, so what happened in the old days was that people used to have response sets, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, all the way down. Well, if you inverse the question, okay, you're asking about happiness, 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 you ask about sadness or unhappiness, okay, that's a way to detect people with response sets. So it's a data cleaning process that we want to make sure that people were thoughtful in their responses. Okay. And then we'll talk about recoding and so forth. Test selections, this is a very short list, okay? With lots of other tests, but this covers a fair amount of ground for probably most people on this call. And essentially, a lot of things that I see is pre-post, okay? I have confidence scores before, confidence after. I want to see, did my intervention make a difference from pre to post, okay? Paired t-test, all right? The other one is I'll say I'm selecting these, independent sample t-test, really where I'm looking at some outcome variable by some grouping variable with two levels, by the way, okay? So the example I said earlier by, 5K times by gender, okay? Assuming two genders. If you have three or more groups, like by age group, for example, okay, then we're kind of in an overland. So one outcome variable, one dependent variable by a grouping variable with three or more levels, we're into an overland, okay? Chi-squares are very common as well. Basically, a nominal variable by some nominal variable, men and women by diagnosis, yes or no, something of this sort. Anywhere where there's counts involved, right? The number of men with a diagnosis, the number of men without, okay, women with, women without. So, and you're looking really for the relationship, or said another way, the independence of these two variables, okay? Correlations, I mean, these are common, every bread and butter. I want the relationship between two scale variables, all right? Incomes and number of houses, okay? That's going to correlate, okay? Uh, Anything that has a scale and a scale variable, okay? And we want to look at the relationship between them, which is really, really looking at the magnitude of it, okay? How big is that correlation, all right? And the direction of that correlation. Could be a positive correlation, as one increases, the other increases. It could be negatively correlated, as one variable increases, okay, the other variable decreases. And finally, the regressions are, well, the simple things are, again, we're dealing with one outcome variable. The linear regression has a scale outcome variable, and the binary logistic regression has a dichotomous, that is two, categories in the outcome variable. All right. All right. Once you have your analyses, we format the tables, we put plain English on top of it, and you have very simple visualizations to look at, to create and look at. Building a discussion chapter, as I mentioned, this was a kind of a new innovation within the past, I don't know, 6 months. Melissa, how long has the discussion been out for?
I think the beta was released about 6 months ago.
There we are. Okay. So, what the discussion draft buys you is a summary of those results. Talk about limitations. It connects to the literature. That is your finding a new finding, or does it fit within the literature? Both of those are just fine. And suggested practical and theoretical implications of your findings. I should say that Intellectus Statistics is not primarily AI driven. There's a few pieces to it, but primarily it's driven by R, and those numbers are real numbers, okay? The discussion chapter, to draft a 10-page discussion chapter, that is AI driven. The implication of that is that you really have to vet those, you have to trust the vote, both the veracity of it, okay? Um, and is it, are the references correct? And does it make sense? I mean, you really have to read through that line by line. Okay. So I'm going to upload data. I'm going to do some cleaning. I'm going to do some analysis. I'm going to show you those results, and then draft a discussion is kind of the flow I'm going to take today. Here's a login. And if you want, I will get to probably a masterclass data set that we can all work on together. But I'll show you a little bit of the uploading and the data cleaning first. And then we'll get to Q&A. And then might as well put this up there if you want to click it with your camera. Samantha helps students get on my calendar. Ashley for any faculty support, which includes courses for Intellectus Statistics, Intellectus Quantitative, Intellectus Lit, demonstrations for you, for your team, for your committee, for your colleagues rather, and also free trials. Okay. So Ashley is your gal there. Melissa for everything else, including how long has a feature been out for, contact information. Okay. And you can click that to get on my calendar for 20 minutes if you'd like for a free consult. Talk about your needs and what we might be able to do for you. Okay, so this is the tool here. Let me see if I can make that a titch bigger. So the quick overview. So it's web-based, so you never have to kind of download things or update things and so forth. That's good for a few reasons. Aside from the two I just mentioned, you can also share your projects. So someone else with the app can also view what you have, and if you're working in teams, that's really helpful. There's let's just get here. There's a data management piece where you can manage data if you've not already done so in the data cleaning wizard. There's plots where you can have 10 typical plots. Okay, here. The analyses really run the gamut from descriptives to some of the things I talked about, t-tests, other types of ANOVAs, other types of regressions, other types of non-parametric above and beyond the chi-square. It does structural equation modeling and other kinds of things like mediation and moderation using Preacher and Hayes kind of process. Okay. And I think I'll touch on these right here. So the decision tree is a user-friendly way to get to the kind of test that you need, okay? So, you can't break it, so play around with it. I want to predict an outcome, that's scale. I'm doing a linear regression. You can go right to it. So the decision tree is again, kind of user-friendly that really we bucketed a long time ago. You're either typically, you're summarizing the data, you're looking for differences by groups. By the way, it could be pre-post, same folks. So different groups or different times, all right? Predicting an outcome, okay, or relationships. And that will drive you to many of the most common analyses to the right here. Once you know you're doing a linear regression, both for your methodology and for your IRB, they're going to want to know what the assumptions of that test is. So under the data analysis plan, under that particular test, you can download and edit this document, which gives you some of the basics here of what could be inside of a data analysis plan. Okay. Also, for your methodology and for your IRB, they're going to want to know what your sample size is, or better known as a power analysis, which is the term that they use to say, how many participants do I need? So when you go to a particular test that you figured out in the decision tree, okay, you can select the number of predictors that you have. And for different effect sizes, okay, what is the sample size that I should be seeking for, okay? I would say to students, probably use a large effect, which requires fewer participants because participants are hard to get. If you have a secondary data set, hunky-dory, So the real way to get at that is to look at past literature that has used those variables and to see what the effect is. That is, how easy it is to find those differences or relationships. As it turns out, if the differences are really large or the effects are large, okay, then it takes fewer people to detect that. So it's kind of a little counterintuitive. Large effects, easy to find. You need fewer people to identify that. Conversely, very small effects or impacts, okay, you need a lot of people to detect that. But in terms of getting through the process, I mean, I think that's if you have to shoot in the dark, I'd be shooting for a medium effect size. So just a quick recap here. What test, the assumptions of the test, and the sample size for the test. Okay. All right. Let's go on to kind of uploading data and cleaning data. So the projects tab gets you to upload data. So you can upload data from different file formats. That's one way. You can, and we'll get to this, there's many example data sets based on the type of analysis that you have. Okay. For those interested in the courses, I don't know how many faculty are on, but we've curated data sets built around analyses for healthcare, for example. Okay. All right, and education. All right. The third way to get data in is really just either entering it in, okay? All right. B1, putting your data in here, okay? Or you can really paste a flat file, that's a Excel sheet, okay, into the file and then hit save, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and upload a data file. All right, I'm going to scroll through to webinar, which I don't see here. Oh, I thought I had it right here. Hang on. I probably named it something else. Oh, Rosenberg. Okay, great. Okay, so I don't see. Oh, we got to go desktop. Well, let's do this. Since I can't find my file. Here's my Rosenberg data set, and let's just paste it in there. I like to go one outside by one, by the way. And let's copy this. And let's just go ahead and paste it in. Okay. So I'm going to put my cursor in the upper left, Control V, and there we are. Okay. So, and then just hit save. Okay. Once you put data in, either uploading it or pasting it in, it throws you into the data cleaning wizard. And then we just go and do some of these things. So this is if you had multiple headers. For sure in Qualtrics, there's several layers of headers like Q1, gender is the name of it, and then perhaps a description of 1 equals males, 2 equals females, or whatever. So if you have that, you can get rid of those headers, okay? by clicking and applying changes. Okay, edit variable names. Again, if you wanted to, put age group or something of this sort, okay, you can change the variable names there. Apply changes, and then go to next. If there was misspellings, which surprisingly there are, like male with a capital M and male with a small m, or some Likert type items with misspelled, it will look to detect what the real intention was, like male with a capital M and male with a small m. Those should be in the same group. It will identify those and allow you to combine those. Likert type items are very common. You select the scale. Okay, so it's a 5-point agreement scale. Sometimes the data sets come out with the labels rather than the numbers. Well, if I want to average these things, I need to turn them into numbers. So once you agree that these labels reflect these numbers, okay, you can just go to next. You can add a subscale. And here you just simply select the items. Maybe this is pretest. Say what you want to do with them. Apply the changes. We'll add another subscale for post. Not post T, post. Okay, select those items. Okay. All right, go to next. Go to finish. And you have a relatively clean data set now. The couple of changes or further additions would be here that if age is really an age group, I can, first of all, it's going to be ordinal, okay? And I can just go right in there and change my level, my numbers in this case to the appropriate levels, okay? 40 to 49. Okay. All right. I'm going to put that in the same variable. You could make a new one too, but. And then you want to check to make sure everything is okay. So age group is ordinal, great. Sex nominal, great. And then my subscales here, okay. The only other thing I would do is, let's just get rid of a few things here. Sometimes there are like an open-ended question here talking about leadership. We do have a cool thing that does use AI of text classification, which allows you to select the variable and then automatically bucket those or categorize those. If you have, 20, it's probably okay to do it by hand. But it's also nice to kind of have these nice groupings, okay, ready for you that now you can not only describe those, but you can interact with those. Okay. All righty, so let's see here. And maybe we'll do a couple of things here. Since I have a data set here, the first thing you always want to do is conduct descriptive statistics of the variables of interest. Okay. Notice that it's accepting all those levels of measurement. And the key here is that that you want to make sure that everything looks good here, okay? You don't have any missing data there. For the scale variables, the mins and maxes are accurate, okay? I summed this one so it's larger, but You want to make sure that those are accurate, the sample size is accurate, and so forth. For those that are doing paired t-tests, like, hey, gosh, is there a difference between this pre and a post? Okay. You select paired t-test, and I want to compare pre, which is scale, to post. Okay. A couple quick heads up. There's a video tutorial for each of these, be it in data management, plots, or analyses. You can watch a little 3-minute video there. Those videos, and there's also options up here. These are preset, but you know that you can change those. And then just hit calculate. One other note that in that question mark, may not be obvious, but in that question mark, there's also videos there. We're hoping to get a little video button here to make it completely obvious. Okay. So the paired t-test, as I mentioned in the PowerPoint deck, the assumptions are built in. So it not only identifies, hey, gosh, there is an assumption. It names what test is assessing that assumption. It conducts that test and then interprets the assumption. Okay, so in this case, normality was not met. Here we have a simple plain English write-up. Guess what? That t-test was significant. Yippee skippy. This is one way of reporting it. Okay. I know nurses and DMPs don't use hypothesis testing, but you can edit that out. And then your APA table, some interpretation of those findings. Pre was lower than post. And then what some of these symbols mean, okay? And then you can simply download that document, okay, into an editable Word document. And in that Word document, you'll have your results. You'll have references. You'll have a glossary of terms and symbols that are curated for the particular test that you conducted. And then there's some raw output that has additional results that may not be included in the interpreted output. So that's the results picture. Okay. So just to kind of recap here, I mean, we, can find the correct analysis, the data plan thereof, and the sample size thereof. We can upload data or paste it in. Management, we didn't mess with it too much. But just to know that a lot of it is in the data cleaning wizard, but this is also a place to kind of manually impute, look for outliers or impute missing data and so forth. It is important to be able to download your managed data. So once you've computed these new scores here, okay, you want that, all right? So if you download that, it will come in the CSV folder, okay? So you have that data. Anytime I work with folks, I make sure they have their data. You need your output and you need your data, okay? Okay. Briefly, let's talk about the discussion chapter. Here, I had a simple data set of Matchlock's burnout scales. I've conducted some analyses here. And the key thing is you're often in this function here, interpreted output. But if you go to discussion draft, if you go to generate a draft, okay, the AI is going to look at your variables and do the best it can to figure out what those are, okay? And then you have to clarify that. So you have to put a name in, add your research problem, your purpose, your research questions, and then double check that these things, okay, this is not employee engagement, it's emotional exhaustion. So to tap into the existing literature, you want to make sure that those acronyms are accurate. Okay. Once you do that, you'll get something like this, and you'll see the different aspects of the discussion draft that are here, particularly the interpretation of the findings, okay? Theoretical and practical implications, limitations. These are just for consideration, but it's often better than starting from, ground zero or nothing. Future research, conclusions, and this is also downloadable and editable as well. So with that being said, I will take questions. Melissa, should I be answering any of these?
We haven't really had any yet, but please, if you want to raise your hand, we're happy to unmute you, or if you've shared your project, raise your hand.
So let me just do a refresh here to see if anyone has shared projects.
And if you're working on a project or if you just have questions about the tool, feel free to ask questions about that as well. Oh, okay. We've got a hand raised.
Okay. Hi, Sandra.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Well, I work with students at Nova for their dissertation. This seems absolutely amazing. And I want to know, I wasn't here at the beginning of the presentation, so how do I get my students involved with this and interacting with this amazing tool? How does it work?
Well, I,
Is it
I, I would
available?
I would rephrase that question if you don't mind. How do we
Okay.
get Nova to
Oh,
incorporate? Okay. And that's an Ashley question or a Melissa question. So I will let Ashley or Melissa respond to that.
Yeah, so depending on the department, some of the departments have already adopted the tool, but Ashley can help you with that piece, but it's really easy to adopt if you're not in that department. We work with your IT team, we do single sign-on, and then everyone has access. They also have access to all of these workshops and a lot of other resources. So I know that you've been back and forth with Ashley a little bit, so she can work out the details with you, but yeah, it's quick and easy process.
so in other words, I can get my students who are working on this type of study, I can get them to interact with this. At this point, it would be if the Fisher Graduate School of Education, are they involved in it?
That would be I think it's public administration, but that would be a question for Ashley.
Okay.
So she can I'm sure that she's typing right now, so she can answer that for sure.
So if not, could the student go offline and just interact with?
Of course, yeah,
Okay.
they can just log in and get access to the tool, of course.
Okay. And did you talk about the cost of it?
So if they
If
did
they,
it that way, they get a free 7-day trial, and then it's $59 a month for the academic subscription. They can cancel at any time. And then once the department adopts and things like that, the price goes down. So
Substantially.
that's
yeah.
great. If Ashley could, or somebody could, yeah, Ashley, if she could just do that, because I have like 5 students right now that would fall over dead in gratitude for
Great.
this, because it seems really valuable, a valuable tool that they could use.
Absolutely. And you're in the Department of Education. What is your mix of qual and quant?
Now it's very unusual. I'd say I have about 25 students, and I'd say of the ones that are actively, they're on to the IRB. They've got chapter 3. They've got their proposal approved. I'd say I have probably 8 right now, 8 active and about of qualitative and about only 3 quantitative.
Okay, so just so you know, we do have a qualitative tool, which is also simple to use, and Ashley will get when that webinar is, or there's also archived webinars. So the tool is very, very simple to use as well. And just to know that it does, I know this is a quant webinar, but it will help you with the coding and thematizing of the data. It will help with the not only the discussion chapter, but the theme description, tying the themes to research questions, as well as a discussion chapter draft. So
Gosh,
same,
that's amazing.
same as it goes through. So tell us, how did we get into the whole school, Sandra? I guess we start with you. Well, we have public admin, but
Yes,
I guess
idea.
uh, sounds
I have
like,
no idea. I'm just um, been with Nova for about 15 years and
long
as
time.
a dissertation chair and committee member. So
Yeah.
this is I don't know I don't know what their attitude is about things like this, but I'm definitely going to recommend it to to my students to just if it's not available through Nova, just to go offline, and
Right.
certainly
Perfect.
is $59 a month is not a lot to save them um a lot
30
of
hours.
agony.
Yes, they do have agony with stats. In fact, some people do the qual because they said, I'm afraid of the numbers. So that agony
Right.
winds up into research approaches. And do tell your
Dr.
fellow
Lab.
colleagues there. I'm sure you're well liked over there after 15 years. Go tell others too, okay?
So I recognize your name. How do I recognize your name?
Um, well, I know what Melissa would say, but post office. No, we've been doing these for, we're working on 15 years ourselves here. So, we're out there in the world.
Somehow, maybe it's the last name. I know somebody else with that last name or something. I
Oh, okay.
have to
Okay.
figure it out.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and we look forward to more conversations, okay? And if you have
Okay.
your own, if you want a personal training, you let Ashley know and we'll do that.
Well, I do
Yeah.
because this would help me help my students.
Precisely. Happy to do
Okay.
that. And if you have your own data or set, this way we could do a one-on-one kind of, personalized, like, hey, Jim, show me that again or whatever. So
Yeah, I
terrific.
think maybe. Great. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
my pleasure.
I'm
All
going
right.
to leave now and I'll be in touch with Ashley. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Bye-bye.
All righty. So other questions we have here. Let me go back up. Okay. So Fatima, Morocco, uh, learning about an event. Okay, good. That's the comment. Uh, Thank you for your time. Okay. Okay. How do we use this tool when you're comparing uh, staff or admin and employee commitment? So, Sesher, so that really it's let's just do this. So let's just duplicate the project. Okay. And so really it's pretty simple. I mean, here, you really have, say commitment here. Okay. And you have, status here. Maybe we don't need these guys. Okay. So you have something like this. To change these levels in here, you just go to Manage, and you can change this to, let's just say, staff, and you can change this to whatever, employee. Okay. All right, so you can easily change these. Once they're changed, the first thing you want to do is run descriptives. Let's get rid of this. You want to run descriptives on your variables. I know I'm going fast, but you can slow down the video. Again, you want to make sure that that's all cool with sample size, that the range is reasonable. And then you're doing a simple independent sample t-test. You have some outcome variable, commitment, and you're looking at it by two independent groups. You're not in both groups, okay, by status. So we're looking to see if there's differences on commitment by status. And again, the tests are built in where we see the assumptions met, the assumptions built in, assumption was violated. Talk about that. And then you have your APA table to say, hey, gosh, there was a significant difference. Peeking at the this mock means, you can see that employee commitment is, much greater than staff. So simple. Upload data, paste it or upload it, run descriptives, run the t-test, download. Easy breezy. All right. Chimus and Henry, products and Qualtrics have no prior experience with raw data download process. Melissa, don't we have a video about how to download?
There's a link. I put it in there.
Okay, got it. Sorry.
In the next,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it. Yeah, because that can be a little tricky. And sometimes you could download it with the labels, sometimes numeric condensed. So there's different things to be done there. Let me go ahead and this out of the way. So let me put, I don't want to do that. So if you have additional questions, again, you can contact one of the support staff or email us or call us. That's our website that has all of the tools that you can avail yourself to. Any final questions? Oops. Any final questions or thoughts?
I don't see any.
Okay, terrific. Well, I wish everyone a wonderful weekend. I hope this was helpful. Feel free to contact us. Happy to meet you in person. And stay safe and happy, and we'll see you all next time.